Jackson Radio Show.
Hey everybody, Kevin Jackson. You want to know how you know you're winning? Welcome back. It's Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. You know you're winning because the left has decided they want no more potential. No more potential for the repeat of crooked Hillary's campaign. None. They now recognize that Hillary stole the nomination from Bernie Sanders, and though Sanders had no shot against Donald Trump, what he did deserve was fairness. Yeah, he needed to be treated fairly. The Democrats stacked the deck against the old socialists in the most imaginative of ways. In one way, though less imaginative, was through these superdelegates. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? And so the party now wants to make sure that the cheating of the Hillary campaign as it pertains to superdelegates cannot happen again. So Politico wrote about it. They said the Democrat Party's Unity Reform Commission is recommending cutting the number of superdelegates by about 400 to a 60% deduction. Many of the remaining superdelegates would see their votes tied to the results in their state. The commission is also suggesting that absentee voting be required as an option for presidential caucus participants. It is calling for automatic voter registration and same-day voter registration, and it wants to mandate public reporting of raw vote totals from caucus states. This is going to go in their Rules and Bylaws Committee and then likely to a full 447-member Democrat National Committee vote for consideration this year, in fact. So they say it's not going to be about 447 people. It's going to be about millions of people and how they pick up this challenge and the path, said Larry Cohen. Okay, fine. But what essentially they're saying is we watched Donna Brazile. We watched, from her book, what came out from that. We've looked at what Debbie Wasserman Schultz did. We now know how the Hillary campaign, had intervened on things. And now we got to do something dramatically different. We got to give people a shot. And I would say to you, they're trying to make it fair, but I don't think that's really it. I think what they're trying to do is say, we never want another Hillary Clinton type scenario, and good for them. Anyway, I want to shift gears. So Jake Tapper did an interview, and it was amazing to watch this interview. I don't know did you guys see that interview with Tapper? I talked about it earlier. I couldn't remember the guy's name. His name is Steve Miller. Now, I don't know why I wouldn't remember Steve Miller. Keep on rocking me, baby. Boom, 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 boom. Keep on rocking me, baby. Anyway, it was Steve Miller. He's a White House advisor. I talked about it because I said that I know I talked about it on the radio show because I remember saying that it was not Steve Bannon. It was Corey Lewandowski who hired him. Okay. So anyway, after he did this interview, very contentious interview, he was escorted off the set of CNN, and they had to have security guards. Yeah. This is what I'm reading. 2 sources close to the situation told Business Insider that after taping was done, Miller was politely asked to leave several times. He ignored those requests, and ultimately security was called and he was escorted out. He's not a tough looking dude. He's just like a little old, he's just a mousy looking dude. Now, he could fool you like a buddy of mine named Robert, who looks like an accountant, but Robert will give you the blues, man. Bad dude. But anyway, they escort him out. But here's what was funny about this. Miller's handling of Jake Tapper was masterful. Masterful. He did what I've recommended to my radio show listeners for, the better part of a week or 2 weeks. I told you guys, refer to President Trump as a genius. That sets off the left in ways, it's like waving a red flag to one of those red things that the matadors do to a bull. It's the equivalent of that. It sets them off. Call Donald Trump a genius, and they don't know what to do. So here's what happened. Jake Tapper He asked Miller to comment on fake news' work of fiction, Fire and Fury, Inside the Trump White House, this book by Michael Wolff, which, by the way, is being touted as the holy grail right now. I was talking earlier about, what's her name? Kitty. Anyway, the lady that's kind of a gossip columnist that wrote the book about Oprah. Her book is a complete, I mean, it looks like it's total nonfiction in comparison to Wolff. Wolff just goes, well, if it sounded like it was kind of true, I just said it was okay. You know, it was just a complete lie. Yeah. Well, and I read you guys a piece from it the other day where he says, so what if two different people contradicted the story? I still, it wasn't for me to decide. I'll let the reader decide. He didn't want to get to the truth. He's like, well, somebody said they say Trump is stupid. Other people say he's genius. Well, you be the judge. Psst. I mean, it wouldn't be. It wasn't on things like that. It was on things that that you could actually factually figure out. But anyway, that kind of stuff I wouldn't even put in a book anyway. Even with two anyways. So while he's on talking with Jake Tapper, and he's baiting him with this he says he called Trump a political genius. Tapper snidely commented, there's only one viewer you care about right now. He was referencing what's his name? Steve Miller, rocking you, baby. Anyway, what Miller was saying. And so, and it was if you watch the interview, Tapper he's really getting under Tapper's skin because Miller would say things like, well, as you guys would know, because you report fake news, this is the way things work because you're a fake news reporter kind of an organization. And had you gotten the story right, you remember how you guys really screwed up this particular story. And it was just interesting how he did it. And he kept baiting this guy and he doesn't know what to do. Tapper's just like, and he wants to keep coming back to the book and to the narrative. And all he says is that book is, and he's almost robotic. That book is absolute nonsense. It's not worth the paper to use it to wipe your butt. I mean, I wish we had a clip. I didn't get it was like 8 minutes, right? Still, we could have gotten it down to like 30 seconds or a minute of it. But it was really good because he just kept needling him. And then Tapper kept coming back to the book, and then he would needle more and say, oh, really, you people want to make a big deal out of a book that's little more than, for all intents and purposes, that book is fiction. And it's driving Jake Tapper crazy. So, later in the broadcast, at the very end, I didn't even see this in the first clip that I saw, but it said Jake Tapper cuts him off. He says, I think I've wasted enough of my viewers' time. Thank you, Stephen. And then he brings it to an end. And Stephen's still trying to talk, but he just cuts him off. And of course, as I said earlier, Miller apparently didn't want to leave. But that wasn't the end. Because Tapper had gotten his butt kicked. Yeah, it was horrible. And let me tell you why I can talk to you about this stuff firsthand. I have been in the green room after a person gets their butt kicked in an interview by me, and they are livid. They are fuming. Okay? They're fuming. They don't want to talk to you, just, like, and because I'm not a pacifist, they know, I'm not worried about you being mad after an interview. But so anyway, they're so mad, and here's what they're doing. You can almost see them mumbling to themselves like, I should have said this, I could have said that, and interview's over. You can't say anything. You've been beaten, and that's the end of it. So I've been there. Now, I'll tell you from another story. One of my buddies, his name is Chris. I got him on CNN. Very first interview he did, and I watched it, and Chris did everything wrong. He'd move his head when, like, oh, that's nonsense. And he'd look up. Y'all can't see me, but he would move his head and he'd look up and he'd do things. And so when he got back, he immediately texted me, man, you got to get me back on. I'm so mad. And they frustrated him because, he wasn't talking right. Like they'd get him over talking and stuff like that. It wasn't a horrible interview, but it wasn't a good one. And he knew it. And he was like, man, just you got to get me back in there. That's what you want. When that happens, you want to get back in the game. You're like, oh. Even when I've had a mediocre interview, I want to get back right away because I'm like, oh, I could have really torched that guy. I've never lost, in an argument like that. But there are times when you go, I could have done a lot better. So that's what I wanted. But anyway, anonymous sources at CNN said that Jake Tapper screamed obscenities at the camera crew, threw a coffee cup at the wall, and demanded CNN never make him interview Stephen Miller again. Yeah. Now, I'm going to give you a disclaimer right now and tell you it's an anonymous source of CNN. I saw it in a tweet, but I believe it because I know how these anchors are. I went on a show with not Poppy, on a CNN, and the lady was so mad because I said, this is a silly topic. And she was like, I don't think it's silly.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.